Welcome. Hey, let me start this with a simple but an urgent question. Are you cyber insurable? Not just insured, but insurable. You see, today it's harder than ever to get coverage, to keep it, and ensure that you get paid when you need it. And if you think this is just a paperwork issue, think again. This could be the difference between surviving a cyber attack and watching your business unravel. Hi, I'm Stephen Lauber. I'm the CEO and founder at Trailhead. We're technology guides for businesses. We're not just about helping with cloud and AI solutions. We're about making sure that your tech stack actually protects you. And today, I want to help you understand how cyber insurance fits into that picture. So let me take you back to the 70s, and I'm going to date myself here a bit. I remember having a car. We had a station wagon like this when I was a kid. And I can remember riding on these little metal shelves that sat over the wheel wells, kind of like a bump out. We would sit there on rides, or we might even sleep on the floor of the car on a long car ride. And seatbelts, I mean, we barely knew what those were. I can remember still having our first car that had seatbelts. We actually had to go back to the showroom to have them installed because they were an add-on. And we had friends who thought we were nuts for getting them. But fast forward here a few decades, I mean, we wouldn't dream of putting our kids in a car without a seat that's strapped down with ratchets and harnesses like they're Apollo astronauts on the launch pad at Cape Kennedy getting ready for their moonshot. So what's changed? Insurance companies. I mean, they were tired of paying out massive claims for preventable injuries. So they pushed for safety standards, not because they were the government, but because they had skin in the game. And today they're doing the same thing with cyber safety. They're setting the standards, and if you don't meet them, you don't get coverage. It's that simple. Insurance companies are quietly shaping the rules of the game. They decide what safe looks like. And if you don't meet their standards, you lose coverage. And if you lose coverage, you're at risk. It's not about what you think is secure, it's about what they say is secure. You might not know this, but insurance companies manage more than 10% of the capital in the world. So they even have the power to drive public policy. So that's why the police will ticket you for failing to comply with what is essentially an auto insurance standard. And insurance companies will take you to court for noncompliance. Let me tell you about ICS, this is International Control Services. You see, they thought they were covered, but when they got hit by a ransomware attack and they filed their claim, Travelers, their insurance carrier, did a little digging, and they found out while ICS may have been in compliance with Travelers' underwriting standards when they first qualified for their cyber insurance, later on, at the time ICS was attacked, it turned out that ICS had kind of slipped a little. So Travelers didn't just deny their claim, they actually sued ICS for fraud. And ICS's lawyers knew that ICS couldn't defend itself against that charge because they failed to maintain compliance, which they were contractually required to maintain. So here's what we're covering today. Why cyber insurance matters, what's changing in the market, what new standards you need to meet, how to build a smart action plan, and then a special offer that could save you some money. So let's start talking about why we all need cyber insurance. The simple answer is that, yeah, we all need it because cyber insurance is a key component of any organization's strategy for managing business risk. You can try to be as safe as you want, and I encourage everyone to be very rigorous when it comes to cybersecurity, but there's still a chance that you'll suffer a cyber attack. I mean, it doesn't matter if you do an hour cardio every day and you only eat organic food, you still need health insurance. It doesn't matter that you drive safely, you still need car insurance. Insurance is your protection against the potentially intolerable financial impact of something going wrong despite your best efforts. You don't leave your front door unlocked, and maybe you even have a magnificent home security system. You still insure your home against theft as a sort of measure of last resort. That's what insurance is and its value. That's why we all have it if we're smart. I mean, the reality is that anyone can get hit by a cyber attack at any time. Being small doesn't make you safe. Being careful doesn't make you 100% immune. And there's a better than 50-50 chance that you'll experience something this year. And again, the impact of what you might experience may not be significant enough to warrant filing a claim, but then again, it could. In fact, this number speaks for itself. The likelihood of you successfully surviving a cyber attack goes way, way down if you don't have cyber insurance. Also, cyber insurance isn't just something that you can decide to get or not get based on your own personal tolerance for risk. Your customers and suppliers want you to be insured too. Because if you're not insured, you are by definition a bad business risk for them. And this is especially true if you're a small business that has large customers who adhere to true best practices for corporate risk management. And in some industries, cyber insurance isn't just smart, it's required. And don't assume that your general business policy covers it. Cyber insurance is a separate beast. In fact, the insurance carrier that you're using for hazard and auto and maybe key employee coverage, they may not offer cyber insurance at all. So you may need to work with a carrier that you've never worked with before. And you see, carriers took a massive loss. So the loss ratios hit 114% in 2020. So what did they do? Well, naturally, they raised premiums and by a lot. And they reduced their coverage also by a lot. So instead of spending $1 to get $100 worth of coverage like we did in 2016, today you have to spend $1.48 to get $69 worth of coverage. Maybe even more critically, insurance companies have gotten very, very serious about standards. I mean, they're going to give you a checklist of things that you have to do that's way longer and in more detail than it was just a few years ago. I'll get into it a bit more detail, but we'll talk about those standards. But the key point here that I want you to take away is that you're paying more for less, and compliance is now a huge burden. And their strategy's working. I mean, for them anyway. Overall profitability in the cyber insurance sector is up 45%. I mean, that's good in a way because, that increased profitability may bring more carriers into the market and increase competition. But while that competition may bring prices down a little, it won't reverse the trends for increasingly stringent underwriting standards. I mean, that ship has sailed and it's going to continue to sail. So what do these market changes mean for you? Well, as I said before, you're going to pay more for less. But again, those numbers are always going to go up and down due to market forces. What's not going to change, though, in this issue of compliance with insurance companies' increasingly stringent underwriting requirements. So that's what I want to focus on with the time we have remaining. Now, these more stringent cyber insurance underwriting standards, they have three major implications for you. One, if you don't have coverage today, it's going to be very hard for you to qualify for first-time coverage. You see, insurers are going to put you through the ringer. You think building inspectors are tough when you're trying to get your permits for new construction? That's nothing compared to what we're starting to see first-time cyber insurance buyers go through. Two, if you already have a good cyber insurance policy, more stringent standards mean you absolutely cannot take renewal of your policy for granted. You're not going to get grandfathered in or even pass because you're such a wonderful customer. If you don't up your game, your renewal is going to get denied, and then you're just a first-time home buyer again. And three, oops, sorry, go back here. And third, you're going to have to work very hard to qualify for the best rate. It's just like any other kind of insurance. Safe drivers and safer cars get lower rates. So this isn't just a binary proposition. There's also a long-term impact on your insurance budget. Cyber insurance is now harder to get and it's harder to keep. You need it, but you're going to have to jump through a few hoops to get it. Okay, so those are the impacts on you and your business on the cyber insurance buy side. On the claim side, there are also lots of implications. For one thing, you're going to be subject to a lot more scrutiny. If you don't have your act 100% together, or let's say at least 94% together, there's a much higher likelihood that your claim is going to be denied. And here's the real kicker. It's even possible that your insurance company will pay your claim and then come after you legally after the fact if they come across any evidence whatsoever that you're not fully compliant with the terms of your condition at the time of the incident. Yeah, they can do that. So you have to get really serious about staying compliant every single day that you're under your carrier's coverage. You got to be diligent about compliance. And there's really two dimensions of diligence. The first dimension is how much more there is that you have to do to make any potential insurer happy. And the second dimension is how much more diligent you have to be about keeping them happy day after day, month after month, quarter after quarter, and year after year. I'll remind you again about what ICS went through with travelers after they filed their claim. We don't know if ICS fell out of compliance the day after they got their policy or the hour before they got hit with the attack. It doesn't matter if they slipped up for a whole 6 months or only slipped up for a minute. The fact is that they slipped at some point, and that's all that matters. Okay, so what are we actually talking about here? I've been going on and on about underwriting standards and compliance requirement and stuff that to help get you and keep cyber insurance and to make sure your claim gets paid. But what does compliance actually mean? What does compliance success look like, and how do we get there? Well, first, let's clarify some definitions. Standards describe what insurance companies expect you to do. So when I talk about the underwriting standards for cyber insurance, I'm talking about lots of controls and processes that you've got to implement to keep out the bad guys. Protect your customers' personal information and avoid any kind of insider malfeasance too. So that's stuff like firewalls and multi-factor authentication, which is what got ICS into trouble. Personal information protections, data encryption, antivirus and anti-malware, data backups, which you not only have to do, but also test for recoverability, and maybe even be able to prove that you tested for recoverability. You need an incident recovery plan, which is your way of making sure that you take steps to minimize the impact of any cyber attack that hits your company. Then you have to train your employees to comply with your policies regarding data access and data protection, and not clicking on scammy emails so they don't cause an incident by doing something stupid. And you make sure everyone is using strong, unguessable passwords, which is harder than it sounds. You have to make sure they change their passwords regularly. You have to make sure you're doing something called separation of responsibilities, which basically means no one person gets the keys to the kingdom. And you have to make sure that you immediately and completely deactivate employees' access privileges, really as soon as they leave your company and become ex-employees. That's another policy that can be easier said than actually done. And you have to do a really important thing that we call periodic third-party pen testing. I'm going to expand on this here shortly in more detail because I really believe it's a key piece to this whole insurance compliance puzzle. Anyway, I mean, that's just a quick overview of the actual substantial material requirements that insurance companies will specify in their underwriting standards, which again is the stuff they want you to do. So those are the standards. What's compliance? Well, compliance is basically just you, in fact, doing what they want you to do. I mean, pretty simple. I don't mean that achieving compliance is simple. I just mean that by definition, the relationship between the underwriting standards of the cyber insurance companies and you being in compliance with those standards is simple. But as you can see from even my partial listing here of specific items on your compliance to-do list, it can be a really heavy lift. But here's the thing. The functional compliance, as I just described it, is by itself absolutely inefficient by true compliance for true compliance success. Because if you want to be successful, if you want to qualify for cyber insurance, qualify for the renewal of your cyber insurance, and have a higher degree of confidence that any claims you file under your cyber insurance policy are going to get paid, and also have a high degree of confidence that you won't get sued by your insurance company for attempting to file a claim under false pretenses. If you want all of that, then what you have to do is much more than just being compliant. You have to be able to show compliance, to prove it, to stand up to an audit, to have all the documentation and reports and records you need to prove that you did what you were required to do. And you have to be able to prove this to someone who's actually intent on finding some little gotcha that will show that no, you weren't actually in compliance in this little area or that little area. So real success is about rock solid documentation. Again, the lesson from ICS, it didn't matter what ICS did. It mattered what ICS could prove. Kind of sounds like a line from a movie. And this is why I said I believe periodic third-party testing is so central to today's cyber insurance challenge. First of all, insurance companies and regulatory agents, they require it. I mean, that's a given. But the real reason they're requiring it is that it's such a great way to verify that you're in compliance. I mean, it's a test or an assessment or a compliance exam or whatever you want to call it. But it's a test, and it's a test from an independent third party. So it's not you saying you're compliant. And if we become your IT service provider, it's not me saying that I got you in compliance either. It's someone else, someone with no skin in the game. It's kind of like, the lab that your doctor sends your blood test to, or the mechanic that you have when you check out a used car before you buy it. So if you take nothing else away from this webinar, please remember this, that periodic third-party testing is a great way that you can verify your ongoing compliance. It's how you proactively discover if you're falling short anywhere in your compliance efforts. It's how you find those problems before your cyber insurance carrier does. And it's how you can prove that you found them and then fix them. So periodic third-party testing is kind of the core of due diligence when it comes to compliance with any cyber insurance carrier's underwriting standards or any regulatory mandates regarding your use of technology for that matter, no matter how stringent those standards are. Now, once upon a time, companies like yours might have actually been allowed to assess themselves, but you know what? Those days are gone. And once upon a time, it might have been okay for a compliance service provider like myself to perform your compliance assessments and write a report detailing the results of that assessment. That's no good anymore either. I mean, we can help you achieve compliance if you decide you want to do business with us, which I hope you would. But we won't be doing your quarterly assessments. We'll connect you with a reputable company that performs those assessments independently. And that's how you're going to find out where your compliance problems are. And it shows we're going to be able to independently, credibly, and convincingly verify that we found and we fixed those problems. So let's talk about our action plan. What we can actually do now to make sure we meet and overcome the substantial challenges presented to us by these new rules of cyber insurance. Well, we obviously need to learn what the new standards are. What does your prospective cyber insurance carrier actually want from you? Are they using the popular cyber insurability frameworks that are already out there, or have they added their own bells and whistles? That's the what of underwriting standards. Then you're going to work to fulfill those standards. That's compliance. And if you need help with that work, we're happy to do so. I mean, the good thing about Trailhead is that we already have expertise in this area, so we don't have to reinvent the wheel. We've also got a lot of work product that you can leverage to get compliance more quickly and cost effectively, like policies in plain language that everyone can understand, and user training, content that's ready-made, and we know exactly what technical controls to put in place to help you make sure you check all of your insurer's standards boxes. And you're going to get tested quarterly against your new compliance requirements by an independent third party. I mean, look, the problem that ICS had wasn't that they dropped the ball on some MFA stuff. It's that they didn't know that they had dropped the ball on that MFA stuff. If they had gotten themselves tested and found it out for themselves that there were some gaps in their MFA coverage, they would have gotten paid on their claim, but they didn't test, so they got blindsided. So these three items, learn, fulfill, and test, are your action items on the standard side. That's what you're going to do to ensure your insurability, if you will. On the transactional side, I also encourage you to do three things. One, get the right coverage. Most companies are underinsured when it comes to cyber attacks. That's because a lot of coverage only addresses the cost of removal and recovery. They don't help with the tremendous total financial impact of your company being out of commission, losing revenue, of alienating customers, of getting sued for failing to meet a delivery commitment, and all of that. And of course, you want to shop and negotiate for the right price. And again, it's really going to help you with that shopping if you can show that you're running a really tight ship. And third, you're going to read the fine print. You want to make absolutely sure that you're fulfilling every last item of your carrier's underwriting requirements. And here again, we're here if you need help with this. So speaking of that, let's wrap up with this special offer I mentioned earlier. Actually, I have two special offers. One of them is the one I kind of just offered you. If you've invested the time to be here with me today, I'd be happy to take a look at the conditions in your current policy or any policy you're considering getting right now. I'll look to see if there are any gotchas there or if there's anything that I think might present a compliance problem for your organization. And that's an offer I can make to everyone who's watched this session. But I also got another special offer. You see, the independent compliance assessment provider that we work with, they're really committed to helping us at Trailhead with our mission to help small businesses strengthen their security posture. So they have allowed me to offer a free compliance assessment to anyone who's attending this session as well. And in this assessment, it's a great diagnostic of your current compliance posture. It's easy and secure, and the information that you'll get from it will be incredibly useful to you as you pursue your quest for best cyber insurance protection at the best price. And you'll understand more clearly why this is something that you want to do every quarter, not just for your compliance efforts, but also to make sure that your cybersecurity work is on track and to stay safe, even as you keep adding more computers and more software applications and more employees and whatever else that may be changing in your environment as your business grows and evolves. So please, if you're interested in this offer, just pop an email. Send an email to ask@trailheadnetworks.com. And please be sure to be ready to have this assessment done. All right, well, that's it. We're pretty much done. I hope that you found our time together today valuable. And please don't let any time go by without acting on what you've learned today. And also, this session is really our last event of the Cybersecurity Awareness Month. If you've missed any of our other live events or the security tips or other resources that we've been putting out all month, head over to our Cybersecurity Awareness page. You can scan the QR code for that. We've been putting out special content all month, but really, you need to have cybersecurity front and center all year. So this goes well beyond just October. So we'll keep this page up as well. So please take advantage of that. And again, thank you so much for joining me, and go out and make it a great rest of your day.